So we're doing it outside today because it's fucking nice. And I have a potato quality mic and webcam anyway, so why not? You can hear the wind instead of my mic popping. But I kind of mulling over this idea of kind of, because there's this whole thing going on right now of like anarchy without adjectives or anarcho unity. All right, what do I say? Of like anarcho unity, of panarchy, of all this, how we could, end the inter-anarchist wars, the left-right anarchist wars. And I just kind of look at it increasingly from my own kind of philosophy to where I ended up where I am, not from like acceptance of an idea, but a acknowledgement of legitimate criticisms of both sides. So with left anarchy, you do have a lot of the benefits of communalism, of community, of working together in forming culture and stuff like that, without the interference of the state. But you always have the risk of tyranny of the majority, of stomping on people's rights, of demagoguery, of cult of personality. These always exist within these. And then on the right, obviously, when you look at like anarcho-capitalism and stuff like that, there's always the risk of just, ever expanding state power of not state power, sorry, of monopolistic power, of corporate power, of turning into some cyberpunk kind of hellscape. That's a real possibility. Both of these are real possibilities. If you speak to either side, they'll be like, oh, that will never happen. And if that does happen, we'll deal with it. But it's unlikely because without the state, there will never be a tyrannical democracy without government. There'll never be a tyrannical corporation without government. It's like, it's not a utopia. The bad things are going to happen. So how can I take these good ideas from both of these and sort of combine them together? And that's something I've been pondering on a lot, and I've kind of put together sort of like a theory around it. And I'm going to use some spooky terms that make most anarchists' toes curl. But no, I'm just talking about conceptually, not in practice. And those two terms are religion and law. Now, again, not actual like enforced law, and again, not like actual like spiritual religion, but more morality and ethics. And what I mean by that is when I look at like whenever I'm personally reading left-wing literature, I view it sort of like how I would view it if I was reading the Quran or the Bible or the Torah. This isn't a system of governance. This isn't a way to structure societies, but it is a good moral foundation. You do want to take care of your community. You want to participate in communalism. You don't want to be a shut-in, basement dwelling, antisocial motherfucker, which unfortunately I see on the right all the time, which is a big problem to me. But you do not want that morality that you want to share to be enforced by the government. But you want to have that morality personalize and express it voluntarily. That's what I get out of left-wing anarchism. And that's what I advocate. And when I look at the right side of the thing, I still view myself as an individualist anarchist. I still view it as the individual is the most sovereign individual, is the smallest minority, and you must protect the individual over everything, including the tyranny of the majority. You cannot have a democracy of force and call it anarchy, in my opinion. And I do not view running around and seizing things that people produce with their own labor as anarchy. So that puts me at odds with that side of it, but also at the same time, I do not view that you can just not give a fuck about anybody and be super hedonistic and super selfish and just do whatever the fuck you want, which is what you find a lot in right anarchy. So how do I reconcile that? And I see that through culture and through morality and through teaching people this voluntarily, kind of making it seep through the culture of a culture of communalism, of a culture of generosity, of culture of anti-greed, but not enforcing it by the state, is how you could receive this kind of anarchism. And you view this in some cultures already. Like in Japan, there is no laws saying that the CEOs of these major companies have to take such small salaries, but they are culturally infamous for doing this. They'll have mega corporation CEOs that live in modest apartments and take the bus to work every day. That doesn't happen in America. But the fact that that does happen, and it's not implemented by government force, means you can do it morally and you can do it culturally. And that way, you can kind of fuse both the right-wing and left-wing anarchism. You can fuse communal anarchism with individualist anarchism. And that's kind of where I am. And that way, you kind of, it doesn't eliminate both sides of it, but again, if I just went pure left-wing anarchism, I would be terrified of a tyranny of the majority. And if I went pure right-wing anarchism, I would be worried about a selfish, hedonistic culture that doesn't do anything for anyone, and nothing ever gets accomplished, and it's just pointless. And that's what I'm trying to kind of infuse into like libertarian, modern, conceptual kind of movement that exists now. I don't think the government should take your money from you. I don't think the government or the people should confiscate your things, but you should get involved. I hate the idea of the isolated, antisocial libertarian. It's so common. People get in arguments all the time of like, oh, you should go out and protest instead of sit at home and take care of your family and ignore society. It's like, why not both? I don't view them as mutually exclusive. And yes, you should want to get involved with society and preach your ideas and help your neighbor, because otherwise that's how you get to this resentful culture war that we're at now. That's kind of my ponderings on it.